Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. We are also a devices manufacturer around hypertension, diabetes, obesity, pulse oximeter, as well as a thermometer primarily, and then we have some other more medically inclined devices, although the blood pressure monitors, blood glucose meters, pulse oximeter, and thermometer are all FDA Class II medical devices. So really what we do, though, in manufacturing the devices is enable our partners who have platforms to do care management for remote patient monitoring, as well as chronic care management and population health. We share our communication protocols to allow them to use our devices, take in the data and the measurements, and then provide care against them. So we got started back in 2010, actually. So we've been around a little while, but I think the market's taken a little bit of time to catch up with us. This was the first at the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference in 2010, connected blood pressure monitor that we created for Apple or with Apple for the Apple devices. There's the final version of it back on the table there, as well as one of our kits that we send out to some of our patients or our partners' patients. But this was the first blood pressure monitor. And this is what it ended up looking like in actual production. It's got the 40-pin connector on it, so the iPhone 4s, if you still got one, we've still got some, you're welcome to them. But really, we partnered with them to do this, and since then we've developed more than just blood pressure monitors, as I mentioned, other devices around other chronic diseases as well. To that end, all of the devices on the top are blood pressure monitors. They're different in varying ways, whether they have rechargeable batteries, alkaline batteries, displays or not displays. And the reason for those differences are, one, usability, two, price, right? So the blood pressure monitor on the left was and is still our kind of the Cadillac of the devices, if you will. It's a $99 retail price, whereas the one in the middle, which is a Bluetooth derivation of the original blood pressure monitor we just showed, is a $39 retail. And so as we sell into our healthcare partners, those wholesales are obviously less than that, but it makes it more affordable and thus can be deployed to a much larger percentage of the population that maybe doesn't want to or can't afford a $99 blood pressure monitor, right? With the displays, that means that readings can be taken offline. So you can take readings, you can then upload them into the platform later. From an adherence perspective, some of our partners like to know that if there's a scheduled reading to take place at a certain time, that reading is in fact done. So if there's no display on the device, the reading started from the apps, and then it has to be done. So if the reading is not transmitted when it's supposed to be, then the person didn't do it, right? So then they can do outreach, proactive outreach to say, we didn't get your reading, can you please go ahead and take your measurement? So it increases or encourages compliance. Same thing below with the glucometers. The one on the left plugs into the headphone jack. The one on the right has a display. It's Bluetooth, as are all of our devices. So the connectivity comes via the Bluetooth. To continue on the device side, thermometer, pulse oximeter, activity, fitness and sleep, as well as a scale and a body composition scale. So those are pretty straightforward. Body composition scale is body fat percentage, body water percentage, lean mass, muscle mass, bone mass, all bioimpedance driven algorithmically. On the bottom, we actually do have some devices that I was talking about earlier. 72-hour continuous ECG. It detects 4 different types of arrhythmias. There's a button that you can kind of see from the picture on the middle of it. So if the user or a person wearing it feels some discomfort, they can highlight the event and it can be reviewed later. Same as the arm and leg cuff that does ABI, as well as mean arterial pressure, stroke volume, pulse volume, things like that. We do have a kit. One of the kits that I put back on the table is for some of our different customers who are monitoring diabetes with prehypertension and weight. So we put it together with the materials from that care provider, and they get the member or the patient gets a blood pressure monitor, pulse oximeter, and or blood glucose meter, as well as a scale. Okay. As I said, so we enable our partners through allowing them to use our API or SDK to integrate the devices of their platform. This allows them to use those devices for their purposes and to follow their care regimens that they're using for their patients. As for us, for a lot of our partners, we do dropship. meaning we get orders in and we ship to each individual patient as per their needs. We do customized apps, and we also are the manufacturer of our devices as well as the guys who certify it with FDA or TGA in Australia, in Europe, and whatever agencies around the world where they exist. We do outsourcing services, so we partner with people where it's not our core competence to include devices outside of our core competencies, exemplified by the fact that this year we'll be enabling or adding a spirometer to our assortment because that's not something we do, but it will be from a partner. So you'll be able to do the same integration and get yet another device in our ecosystem, which is our strength. As I mentioned, FDA certifications. These are some of our partners today who we either ship to and they distribute to their patients, or we actually ship to on their behalf. Some of the use cases, diabetes prevention programs are well in effect today. Education and monitoring for patients diagnosed and discharged with CHF. That's a very big one for one of our partners. As our senior living, hypertension management, weight management, diabetes care, and diabetes dosing algorithms. So I'll give you a little highlight into this. This is one of our partners that's strictly focused on diabetes, and they use our glucometer that plugs into the phone. Over a 6-month period, there were 100 patients that they remote monitored, and they do dosing algorithms that are FDA approved against the dynamic readings coming in from the devices. So if they got a glucose reading, they then provided them with a dosage recommendation based upon that reading. The orange was their starting A1Cs after 6 months were their ending A1Cs down below in the blue, which represented an overall 1.9 point reduction in A1C for those patients. So just an example of it. I didn't tell you who it was because I can't, but we'd be happy to share more information individually if need be. And that's it. Any questions for me? Yes?
Anything planned for a CGM?
Nothing planned on anything planned for CGM. Nothing planned on our roadmap today, although we're looking at it maybe in the next year or so. We'll make something available there. Yes, sir.
Would you be able to share your revenue, like your current revenue?
Would we be able to share our current revenue? We could look to share it independently or individually, but not in the setting today. Anybody else?
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you very much.